Welcome to video 33 on the feeling, the bonus video. Now, I was fully intending to skip making this video, since I thought no one would want to watch it, until this prick said he wanted to. So screw you, Brian at Live. Are you happy now? I like how the last synth was 30, which is a round number, the last proper video was 32, which is a power of 2, and this one is 33, whose digits are the same. Anyway, this video will have basically nothing about FL Studio in it, so if you actually want to learn anything, this isn't the place. But if you've got something really important you need to do, but you were procrastinating on YouTube when this popped up in your subscription feed, and you're really good at convincing yourself that you need to finish the video instead of getting on with things, then this is the perfect video for you. And if you've been following the playlist all the way through, and congratulations for that by the way, consider this your dessert. But this video is basically just a blog entry with lots of random tangents, designed to be entertaining rather than informative. So, where to begin? Well, first, I'll explain why I bothered making this track at all, because there's a bit of a story here. So, I'll explain a bit about myself. Pretty much the only place I get music from is Glitch Hop Community, though these days I'm listening to Groove Salad all the time. Side note, if you want to find really high quality, really obscure music nobody has ever heard of, listen to internet radio. Then you can look like some genius archaeologist when you show a banging track to somebody with 32 views on YouTube. Anyway, back when I started this track, Glitch Hop Community was all I listened to. Informally, I had the sole musical goal of getting on their YouTube channel someday. Not EMI, not Universal, not a collab with Skrillex, but Glitch Hop Community. I didn't care that much, I just thought it would be cool. Really, I think the only important goal in music, or any creative endeavour, or really life in general, should be to have fun and enjoy the process. If you don't care about whether your music sounds good, or whether anybody listens to it, and just make whatever puts a smile on your face, then not only will you enjoy it, which is the whole reason why you're making music at all when you get right down to it, but I think this is how you find a unique and fresh, creative style. Nobody ever innovated by copying somebody else. Just make whatever you like making, and don't think about whether anyone else likes it. Because your specific taste is unique to you. So when you get good at making music only you like, your specific music will be unique to you as well. You know how Seamless makes those videos about his philosophy sometimes? I'm considering making a video about this sort of thing. But whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So, I'm always listening to Glitch Hop Community. Imagine how I felt when one day, I log into my SoundCloud, wondering whether yet another sexy honey is just dying to promote my tracks, and I see a notification that motherfucking Glitch Hop Community is following me. As you can imagine, I basically had a heart attack. So I go on their profile and it's really them. I look in my followers list and sure enough, they didn't misclick, they're really there. Obviously I was very excited. I look at their YouTube to see if they'd posted a track of mine and they hadn't. So I excitedly email the guy behind Glitch Hop Community and send him Banana Loaf. And his response? I tried to upload the track to our YouTube channel last week, but unfortunately we got a third-party warning on it. What the f-? Let me explain a little bit about YouTube's Content ID system. I'm sure many of you out there hate adverts on YouTube, hate how everyone's getting demonetized these days, and hate false copyright strikes all over the place. Personally, I don't think YouTube is really doing anything wrong, since I think an automated Content ID system is better than some angry lawyer taking you to court, and it's sure as hell better than YouTube disappearing because loads of huge, rich corporations are pissed off with them because their copyright keeps getting infringed. There's far too much content on YouTube to have a load of lawyers handle every dispute, so even though the automated system really sucks, I can't really think of a better solution. People get mad over being demonetized all the time, but they forget that when their adverts get removed, YouTube loses money as well as them. It's in YouTube's interests to not demonetize you, so they're not just being evil bastards. Well, not because of this anyway. So what's this got to do with Banana Loaf? As it turns out, if you ever upload music to YouTube and anybody anywhere listens to it, somebody is going to rip it from YouTube and send it to some music distribution service. Basically, you send them your track, and they upload it for you to Amazon, iTunes, Beatport, loads of other places no one's ever heard of. And what happens when somebody uploads your track under their name to loads of places? That's right, your original version gets content ID'd. This has happened to me quite a few times. Everyone go and give Headsplitter a big fuck you from me. He deleted his SoundCloud though. Anyway, it pisses me off when this happens. Your video gets ads placed on it and the money goes to whoever re-uploaded your music. Actually, it's not the money I mind about, because I'm not actually really making any money from my music. Actually, ad revenue on Hall of Monsters bought me C++ Primer, but that's all the money I ever earned. So I haven't really lost anything, but somebody else has gained. So from a utilitarian perspective, the world has made a net gain. So there's no problem, I suppose. But what pisses me off is that now my video has adverts on it and people have to watch them. And when your fucking dream comes true and Glitch Hop Community posts your track, it gets fucking removed. So fuck you, Headsplitter. So put yourself in that situation. Can you imagine how motivated you would be to make a new track? I have never been so fired up before or since. It was the ideal situation. The whole of the feeling, from the start, was designed specifically for the purpose of being on Glitch Hop Community. And, lo and behold, it all worked out in the end. Here's another fun instance of this sort of thing. You know how sometimes when somebody's excited about a track they're working on, they film a short clip of it playing on their PC with their phone to try and hype up their audience? Well, once I got a copyright strike on Banana Loaf, exact same situation as before. So I googled the name of the track to see where it's ended up, mostly out of curiosity really, to find a suspiciously good track named Banana Glitch by Mike Beats, which I can't listen to because I don't have a Spotify account. But I also found it posted somewhere on Facebook. I think you can see where this is going. Get a load of this. It's just Banana Loaf, but with more peanut butter and jelly, and less showing of the actual project. Anyway, I loved his song so much, I had to let him know. And so did my friend who I like to collab with. Check out his SoundCloud. And he says to me, I am the creator of this music. Now, you'd think that telling the creator of the track that you made it isn't very likely to convince them, but it worked on me, I must say. Fun fact. Did you know the guy who made the Peanut Butter Jelly Time song shot himself in the head during an 11-hour standoff with the police after his brother-in-law Snoop Dogg failed to convince him to surrender? I didn't. Anyway, while I appreciate the irony of including his video of him using my track without permission in my video without permission, I'm happy to do it anyway. I'm not annoyed about this, really. Actually, I'm flattered, especially now that years have passed. Sure, I might not be a world-famous billionaire with my own Wikipedia article, but I still feel like I've made some minuscule impact on the world. As the cherry on the cake, I sent Glitch Hop Community a link to download the feeling that pointed to my own website, zemja.org, on my own web server. I looked at the logs after he downloaded it, and, well, here's what his IP address was at the time. Obviously it won't be anymore, but hey. And yes, I saved it in a text file I keep to this day. I suppose it's the electronic version of a stalker cherishing a stolen sock or something. Whatever. So, that's the backstory, basically. As it turns out, distributing your music officially might be a wise idea, since then other people will be getting copyright strikes and not you. But to be honest, you probably don't want that either. I don't want this guy to get a copyright strike just because he used a track of mine in the background. I just don't want adverts on my videos, and I want people who like the track to be able to find more by the same artist. But you just can't win. Oh well, at least no one got hurt. Next up is this old version of the project. Why is it called Melonhead? And why am I called Pistol Star? I'll get onto that in a second. First though, let me show you the project. As you can see, it's a lot shorter and sounds a lot shittier. At the end you can see I made various sounds for using in the drop before I even started it. Two of which I never ended up using. I'll talk about how I made those in a bit. So, how did I start with this? Well, it all started when I was watching TV with my mum, which is pretty wholesome. We were watching this show called Count Arthur Strong, which you'd probably enjoy more if you were baked. In this particular episode, which aired on 30th of June 2017 as it turns out, so that's the date I started this track I guess, there was one part with a really short piece of music. Here it is.
We were all sat there waiting, and Arthur said...
Did you hear that? One more time. So I was thinking about that short tune, and an idea developed in my head. I went to my room and hummed my idea into my phone, which I like to do since whenever you try to plot an idea in the piano roll, hearing the wrong notes immediately makes you forget the right ones. So I record things into my phone first. I'd play you that recording now if I hadn't accidentally deleted it. Anyway, here's the tune. And here's my idea plotted on the harpsichord. That's okay, but it needs some bass to beefing it up. Maybe something syncopated to fill the gaps. Perhaps some percussion. And maybe a melody on top to really finish it off. And there we are. Then just a simpler melody for the very intro. A build-up. Make a load of random sounds at the end for use in the drop. Whack out a drop. And suddenly, oh shit, I'm thinking, this idea has potential. So I save it in another folder to work on, and the rest is basically history. Okay, not quite, but I can't remember the details. I remember at the time I just listened to Alive by
Savant
and Quantum by Alternative, good luck finding that one on Google, which were full of harpsichords, so I suppose it was on my mind. I liked it and wanted to copy it, basically. To this day, I feel immensely guilty about plagiarising those 2 seconds of Count Arthur Strong. Not really. So why did I call it Melonhead? Well, once upon a time, when I was in primary school, which is elementary school in simplified English, there was this guy called Benjamin. I was probably in year 5 or 6, and he was in year 3, I think. And in American grades, that's just English but -1. Anyway, Benjamin was one of those weird kids everybody knows one of. Just eccentric and strange, but hilarious. In our school playground there was this raised wooden platform with steps. Everybody called it the stage. And Benjamin used to spend lots of his breaks standing alone on the stage, singing to everybody. And people would gather around to listen in front of the stage. He didn't have anything prepared, of course. He just used to freestyle it like a true artist, making up lyrics and melodies as he went along. Most of the time, he was basically just roasting every single individual in the audience, one by one, in song. I wish I had that level of self-confidence today. This guy gave absolutely no fucks at all. There was also this girl in my year called Natalie. She was a real tomboy. I haven't met either of them since primary school, by the way. She always used to have frizzy hair and a ponytail. I remember one day her hairband snapped and she started crying. She held her hair in a ponytail for the rest of the day. I tried to persuade her to show me what it looked like normally, but she refused, saying it looked too girly. And I never did see what she looked like without a ponytail. Anyway, there Benjamin was one day, and both Natalie and I happened to be in the audience. One of his roasts was,
Natalie, sometimes you look like a boy.
Hence the comments section of the project info. And because I was jealous of him getting attention, I laughed and applauded sarcastically. So he turns to me and sings,
Ethan, you look like a melon head.
which received a much bigger laugh, of course. And this random memory is why I named the track Melonhead. I wonder where Benjamin is today. I guarantee he is a complete and total legend. I bet he gets a lot of pussy. Why Pistol Star? Back when I started the track, that was my music alias. I got the idea from Antares, the company that made Autotune. I thought naming yourself after a star was a cool idea, and I wanted to one-up them by naming myself after a bigger one, but all the bigger ones have shit names. Nobody wants to listen to a track by MG7346. Pistol Star was cool enough. And actually, why Zemja? Well, on one of those disposable email sites that give you temporary addresses for signing up for things, I was randomly generated zemjapyc@cllmail.com. Around that time, I was trying to think of a new name just in time to send this track to Glitch Up Community, and I wanted something neutral that could last forever, and so Zemja was born. You know that track you always used to hear in YouTube tutorials? You know, this one. Apparently, it was so widespread because 009 Sound System, the artist's name, shows up first alphabetically in the YouTube audio library. So when tutorial videos get the audio copyrighted and the uploader has to pick something from the audio library to replace it, most people didn't give a shit and just picked the first track. Then it spread and became a meme. So perhaps I should just name myself 0000 for the same reason. Or just / so people can't save my tracks on Windows because you can't have it in the file name. Or various artists, just to
fuck over people with iPods.
Or I could have my artist name be literally Zemja feat Skrillex to get clicks. Or you are now aware you are breathing and blinking and must do it manually. Or you lost the game, or something like that. But I settled on Zemja. Now that I've given you my life story, let's talk about FL Studio. Did you know that ImageLine started off making video games? And their first ever piece of software was a pornographic version of Tetris called Porntris? Anyway, let's start off with the unused sounds at the end of this project which I mentioned earlier. In my opinion, one of them's shit, and one of them's okay. Let's start with the shit one and have the good one as dessert. So here it is. So basically, it's citrus, 2 octaves down. Almost a saw for operator 1, and a triangle modulating it a bit for operator 2. Pitch 2 down an octave for that throaty feeling. Now put them both through the filter so you can hear them both, but operator 2 is a little quieter. I put them both through the filter partly as a shortcut so I could add a single volume envelope to both of them at once, but also so I could add a filter envelope. As for the effects, it's just a Maximus with the low band's curve increased, trying to imitate OTT for the mid band with a double curve, and playing with the attack and gain, then turn up the high tension a bit. Transient processor with a bit more attack and release. And finally a convolver, which is the meat of this sound really, where I settled on cave chamber under real spaces. Turn down the stretch to make it shorter, turn up the wet to make it louder, and that's the sound. Now for the cool one. I wanted to use this in the track and tried lots of times, but I just couldn't find anywhere to put it that wasn't terrible. This sound actually has an interesting thing to it. So first up it's citrus, 2 octaves down. I just click the absolute button for shits and G's, then assign the modulation to the Mod X knob so I can automate the vowelness with it. Operator 2 is the same but with a bit of sine shaper, and modulating operator 1 quite a bit. Operator 4 is next because, for some reason, I use the same numbering system as Microsoft, and ImageLine, come to think of it, for fuck's sake, and just skip numbers out willy-nilly. Anyway, same as 2 pretty much, but an octave down, has even checked, and it's modulating too. If you hadn't guessed, I'm basically just making it up as I go along with this sound, FMing things to random other things. Now the effects. A Maximus with the mid and high curve turned up a bit. A Camel Crusher on the default settings, but with fat mode checked, and the compressor turned up slightly. An EQ to high pass it for mixing reasons, and take the middle out for subjective taste reasons. And now we get to the interesting part. Get a load of this EQ. Basically, it's a comb filter. I have a control surface at the end with a single knob, then for each of the knobs in the EQ, I click Link to Controller, and in the mapping formula add 0.1 each time. So the first knob is just input, the second is input plus 0.1, then input plus 0.2, etc. So now the frequency knob automates all of these together. What I should have done is put this in a patcher preset, then I could just drop this on whatever I wanted. And side note, you could put all kinds of fancy things in the mapping formula, and rather than using the formula in patcher, you'd probably use Fruity Formula Controller, or actually probably you'd be better off using Fruity XYZ Controller. In any case, you can have filter shapes as fancy as you want, such as most of the ones in Serum, and whatever else you can think of. The last effect is just a reverb with wet all the way up, and a tiny amount of decay, for a bit of stereo room, I suppose. Turn down the early reflections, even though it makes no audible difference. Right, well that was a whirlwind tour of those two sounds. I told you there'd be nothing about FL Studio in this video, but I was lying. Next up is just a few details about the composition of the track, really. I tried to track down where I found that vocal sample. Really, it was somebody on Reddit who posted a link to random free public domain samples, or supposedly free anyway. I can't find exactly where I got them from, but I did find this other track that uses the same samples, which is weird. I wonder how Lindy Beige would feel about me using his voice for Don't Mess.
Which was as far away as the horizon. When it arrived there, it still had quite a flat trajectory, so presumably this thing had a range that could have just fired virtually into space, but its effective range was as far as it could see.
I don't think he'd like the track. Now there's a couple of Easter eggs. You know how in English class at school, you'd always have to overanalyze some piece of literature? Or I do anyway. So you'd be reading some book, and you'd have to come up with some complete bullshit to write about it. Something like, this character was wearing boots, which are heavy, showing his strong personality. The thick soles represent his unwillingness to be open about his feelings as he constructs a thick shield around himself. The leak later in the book represents the tears revealing himself emotionally to others. Or some crap. Well, get ready for that kind of thing, but about this track. So, the intention was that he never actually says happy until the very end. It really pisses me off when glitch hop artists will name their track Funky Night, or something really direct and unsubtle like that. I think the name should be an oblique hint at what you're trying to convey, and the whole fun of listening is using your imagination to fill in the gaps. An excellent example of this, I think, is Red Dawn by Knife Party. Listen to this. Now that I've been content ID'd, let me explain. It's unclear what exactly Red Dawn is, and the words are deliberately vague. What ancient warrior? Revenge for what? What fight? It's completely ambiguous what the hell he's talking about. And yet, for that exact reason, you are imagining somebody in some Saudi Arabian desert with
curved swords.
wearing a turban or something, fighting a load of dudes in a big important battle a really long time ago. Yet the track didn't actually say any of that. It's evocative rather than descriptive. And that's the sort of thing I was trying to do here. The title is The Feeling. It's not happiness, it's deliberately vague. What feeling? The listener is invited to ask. And while listening to the track, they use their imagination to figure it out. And just maybe, they'll come up with their own interpretation for exactly what nuanced, indescribably specific feeling this sounds like to them. Which is why I don't like lyrics in music, actually. I feel like they're just giving you the answers. A painting would be shit if it had what it's supposed to make you feel or think about written on it. The whole fun is figuring that out for yourself and ending up with an individual experience. Anyway, whatever. There's a satisfying resolution right at the end where it's confirmed that you had the right answer when the guy says,
"Did you hear the happy feeling in that tune?"
So I avoided using the word happy until the very end. Except for in the bridge part in the middle, he said,
Happy music?
which completely ruins this whole thing and was a stupid mistake. Damn. Here's another one. During the second build-up, he says,
We will use rhythm sticks, a drum, a triangle,
and of course MBFB as it's formerly known. Now, I am a fastidious man. I had to put this in,
You know that feeling, don't you?
so that technically he's not lying. All those instruments were in fact used, especially the MBFB. So for everybody else out there who would feel like they were being robbed without this, I got you, bros.
I'm a man of my word.
A bit more about being evocative. Get your ears around the ending. When he says,
You know that feeling, don't you?
he's inviting the listener to think about it. To give them a hint, I put that triangle there. Now the triangle's a joke earlier in the track. I'm trying to hint that the feeling he is talking about is light-hearted, innocent, carefree, wholesome, childlike, non-serious jocularity. You know that feeling you felt when you first heard the triangle and hopefully smirked a bit? That's the feeling he's trying to get you to feel. Well, boys and girls, that's about it. Not sure how to end this. It's already ended. Let's be honest, I'm just trying to edge my way out smoothly. That track I mentioned a few videos ago, it's looking good. Now these tutorials are over, I'll be working on this until it's done. I'm very excited about it. But, until that day, my friends, see you in the next one.